Welcome back, everybody, to Season 3 of Under Construction with Chadwicks. And I am delighted to be joined by my new co-host, Donncha O'Callaghan.
Co-host. I didn't know there was a co-host in it, Pat.
I'm the big shot on this podcast, so, okay?
How come I can't leave people behind? So basically, you're taking up the role of Paul O'Connell. You know what I mean? That means, Pat, you are my babysitter for the next few weeks.
That's okay. I think I can manage that.
Can you change nappies? I'm looking forward to it, though. We're going to have a great chat, and starting off with today, really looking forward to it, Pat.
Yeah, we are lucky enough to be joined by two fantastic women in the industry. Kate Fahey, who's a banksman from Galway, and Amy O'Toole, who's an electrical support specialist from Portlaoise.
Yeah, this is our first podcast. It's the Irish construction industry. Is it a man's world? Today is International Women's Day, and we are delighted to be joined by two of the best in the industry. Kate Fahey. Kate, how are you?
I'm mighty, Donncha. How was yourself?
I'm great. Really interesting job, Kate. We'll go through it a little bit later on. But a banksman, you might. I made a bit of a mess up on 2FM Breakfast when chatting to a banksman one time because I thought it was the financial industry.
Oh. Easy mistake.
yeah, it does. Happy. And Amy O'Toole, a project manager. Amy, how are you?
Good, thanks, Donncha, and yourself?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us with Under Construction with Chadwicks podcast. Let's get it done. So, Amy, can I kick off with you? What attracted you to your industry?
I suppose my dad was doing an apprenticeship and couldn't figure out how to work a calculator. So I don't know why he ever did it, but he needed assistance. So I sat down to help him one day and realised I was good at it. I did want to be a midwife, so that didn't obviously go well if I'm sitting here, but I did the apprenticeship then with ESB, applied for that, and then became an electrician, and the rest is history, I suppose.
Yeah. And Kate, what about yourself? How did you end up in your industry?
I suppose it's much the same as Amy, actually, through my dad. My dad has a construction company, and I always had like a bit of an interest, but I just never really thought about it. And then when I started a summer job with him in Dublin here, after my leaving cert, I was in the office and I just kind of developed an interest from there, I suppose.
Kate, did it bother you at any point when you were deciding where you wanted to go that it was kind of leading towards a male industry as opposed to, or did that even come into your thinking?
To be honest with you, I never thought about it. I think as well from the support of dad and stuff, it never was highlighted to me, so I just never thought about it. It's been highlighted since, but I never thought about it as a male-dominated industry until obviously then it was very obvious when I went into it that it was male-dominated, but it never bothered me.
Yeah. What about you, Amy? Did you?
No, same, didn't bother me. Never thought about it, to be honest. Like, I have two brothers. I'm the only girl. I mean, being surrounded by lads is kind of what I'm familiar with. So it didn't bother me. And
Kate, your role, banksman, can you tell us a little bit about it? I have, like I said, put my foot in it before about it, but a really interesting job.
So the banksman is the person on the ground that tells the crane driver what to do. So to become a crane driver, you have to do your banksman ticket first. Mm-hmm. So I did the banksman ticket first, and then I went on and did my crane ticket. So I'm operating a crane now at the minute, but I was a banksman for a short period. So basically it's just on the radio, hooking on things to the end of the chains of the crane, rigging loads, giving the crane driver directions, especially when the crane driver can't see what's going on, blind lifts or stuff like that. So it's quite an important role.
So what crane are you driving now then, Kate? Are you on the big tower? Or are you on the...
Yeah, I'm on a tower crane in Salt Hill, Mantis tower crane in Salt Hill.
So the usual questions, how long does it take you to get up there in the mornings?
Oh, it depends on the morning. So normally around 5 minutes, so it'll be kind of going slowly, just kind of tipping up.
The legs would be tired by the time you get up that every day for a week.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. But when Friday comes, I don't be too sad.
Straight down it.
Back down. Oh, I don't touch a step on the way down on a Friday. Fly down it.
Kate, is it lonely up there?
It actually can be. I think because of the banksman directing you on the ground, you're in contact with him the whole time on the radio, so that kind of keeps you company.
Yeah.
So it's not too bad in that regard. But sometimes I suppose it can get a bit lonely, especially if the site is quiet that particular day, you're not doing much lifts, you're kind of sitting there alone thinking more. When you're busy, you don't think about it. But sometimes when it's quiet, it can be, yeah.
I doubt it. I'd say now, look, the way you're a young girl, Kate, I'd say you're never off that mobile phone. I'd say if your father's heartbroken. Kate, come in. She's on Instagram looking at Donncha.
You got better reception up there.
Yeah.
But even small things like your lunch, using the bathroom, stuff like that, how functional, it must be very, very difficult. You have to think about everything.
Yeah, it can be. I don't have the luxury that males do for the toilet, but I suppose it's just on lunch breaks, you just come down. I've come down at 10 o'clock for a half-hour lunch break, and then I come back down again at 1:30. So it's fine, I suppose.
You must have a very good bladder.
Well, some days now I'd have to radio down and say, give me 10 minutes there.
Amy, have you found a shift in the industry in terms of acceptance? You know, with your male counterparts, you know what I mean? They see you for your skills leading the projects as opposed to gender.
Yeah, I suppose they would. They would have been. It's getting much better now. I mean, I joined the industry back in 2012, so it was a lot different then. Now it's definitely more accepting, but I think in our heads we still feel like we need to work a little bit harder to kind of keep up. But I don't think that that's necessarily reflected in the attitudes towards us. I think that's more ourselves. But it has got much better, but it has still got a good way to go.
It's a really interesting point. You know, even in your head that you think it's a factor, you're nearly overcompensating with.
Absolutely, yeah. Always thinking about how to match or be better. Even sometimes it can get that competitive. But I think that's everybody. That's in sport. That's in everything. I mean, your career is no different than playing a match. You know, you still want to come out and achieve what you've gone in to do.
So what sort of projects are you working on, Amy? What do you...
So when I was in ESB, obviously I trained as an electrician, and then I went on to join health and safety. So I got a degree in health and safety. And then I got a degree in management because I knew management was what I wanted. If I wanted to get off the ground and get off the tools as a female, I knew that was the route I had to go. I joined a new company then, and I started with them back on the tools because I had to start from the bottom and work my way up. And then I went into health and safety. Then I became a technical support specialist. So I was dealing with customers and just reassuring them if they had any technical issues, trying to rectify it over the phone to prevent the manpower from going to every single issue that could be easily resolved. And then I became a project manager. So currently I'm working on underground fibre installations. So the main project I'm working on is tracking blockages, making sure blockages are cleared, tracked and managed.
And it is parents that make pushing them. I've got kids here trying to push them in a certain direction. But how would you influence a parent to push them in the direction that you went in for, and in particular for girls, not even, you know, the apprenticeship piece first, but in particular girls?
Yeah, well, I've got 2 kids myself. I've got a son who's 8 and I've got a little girl who's 6. And I do often ask myself the question, and I think it takes a particular personality to be able to work in a male-orientated industry. So first of all, as a parent, I would make sure that my child had that resilience to be able to go in and had a little bit more of a fight in them, I suppose, than the normal easygoing child, because it is difficult and you don't want them to be deflated 5 minutes in the door, because we were always told, I know when I started my apprenticeship I was told to leave my feelings at the gate and pick them up on the way out. Now that has changed, but it's still very much determined by where they go and who they're working with, because you can't guarantee that it's going to be a softly approach everywhere. But I think a child knows themselves what industry they want to be in, and if this is the industry they want them to be in, then absolutely just encourage them, just make them, reassure them that it's going to be okay, but don't promise them that it won't be difficult, because it will, especially for girls. There is different, areas of it that they'll just have to adjust to. It's not that they can't, they can, and they will be well able to, and hopefully with the help of other girls, given their side of the story, that they will be able to learn a little bit from them.
Kate, the same question to you really is, how would you advertise the fact of your job to people? And not only women and girls in one sense, but we do want to get more girls into the construction sector, but apprentices in total then.
Yeah, I think as well it has to come from schools. I think career guidance counsellors need to tell people and inform kids that are making huge decisions in 5th year and leaving cert, like to decide and rest their lives. Like, I didn't know the opportunities that were out there without having to go directly into college. They were never highlighted to me. So kids are left to do their own research, where if career guidance counsellors were able to give kids some information, and the pressure among kids from teachers and peers, and sometimes parents as well, to get a good leaving cert and go to college, like, it's ridiculous putting that much pressure on people's shoulders, because I suppose people who wouldn't be more like used to sitting exams or they get nervous, whatever, stuff like this might be more suited to them. And I think it really needs to be highlighted
They're not
in schools.
academic if they're more practical.
Absolutely.
It would definitely be more. And even now, the guidance apprenticeships that they've brought out, like we spoke about earlier on, I mean, you can go from an accountant to a hairdresser. Any of them kind of popular ones are available as an apprenticeship now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Amy, do you see how important your role is in that too? Like, I'm just coming from the world of sport where it's big for champion. If you can't see it, you can't be it. And that's what you're doing now. Like, I've 3 little girls at home, 12 down to 9, and them seeing you out there, you know what I mean? And that it is a viable working option, because unfortunately, if it wasn't for your dads, he probably wouldn't have seen it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Definitely not.
There's actually 2 little kids that come to site and they stand out the front of the site in Salthill that I'm working on at the minute, and they'd be waving up at me, and one of them even got a crane off Santa for Christmas. So like, I think as well, it's like that, if you see it, you can be it. So I think people just need to, parents, teachers, they can't be as strict on, you have to go to college, you have to get a good leaving cert. Like, people can do just as well. And like, I know everyone says you need the piece of paper, but like, go and do an apprenticeship then.
You were saying you started 2012. What difference have you seen from 2012 to 2022? Has it been a drastic change, or it just has been publicised more than in relation to late women in construction?
I wouldn't say a drastic change. I mean, there's still a good way to go, but I would definitely say there is a change, and it's definitely improving. I think it's all down to the employer as well. I think the education the employer has, the willingness to learn from the employer's perspective as well, because it's the employer that makes the experience for us. You know, it's not, we can go in open-minded, ready to do whatever we need to do, but the employer's feedback towards us and the way they approach us is what makes it work. It's a relationship at the end of the day when you're in these roles.
And you get good banter yourselves.
Oh, great banter. It's brilliant. Absolutely. Yeah. That's the best part. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. So keeps
But tell us, there's obviously the negative side of it as well. Would you have experience in that, Kate, where you see kind of maybe people not being as supportive as you would like when you're going into this industry?
There definitely is some of that. I know people might give you looks and stares. I know a few times if I'm walking down the street and my hard hat and high vis, sometimes I've been approached, people think I'm a cleaner or stuff. Like, you know, they don't think that there's women doing other jobs. Like, the site I'm working on at the minute, I'm the only female. So I suppose that when I'm walking in the gate in the morning, I get a bit of looks here and there from people who haven't been, it might be their first day or stuff like that. But I think it's the more people that go into it, it'll start to level the playing field a bit. And I think women themselves are their biggest enemy.
Wow,
you know, I think
that's
even
so interesting.
I loved construction in school, but I never thought I'd be in construction. Never, even though I always had an interest from my dad, always. And I used to love hearing about it or love learning about it. But I don't know why I never thought about it. You know, I think the option just needs to be more open, and just the doors open a little bit more for women, like, so there can be an option, so it is brought to them in schools, you know, so it is encouraged.
And family and friends, when they heard you were getting into, so your dad's pretty proud as punch, I'll have a bit of this. Plus cheap labour now, let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not getting the full rate off me. What sort of reaction did you get then from that end of it then?
I got a really positive reaction, actually. I think I struggled myself with being paranoid about people think of me, oh, she didn't go to college, she didn't do this. But in reality, like, all my friends, they think it's great. Like, and my family, they couldn't be more supportive. Like, I think when people were saying to Dad as well, like, oh, your daughter's in construction, he never thought about kind of the gender side of it. Like, he's like, he just thinks of me as one of the lads. I think, you know, there's 2 boys and 2 girls in our family. So I think we all just kind of are the same, I suppose. Yeah. And I came from a farming background as well, so that kind of helped a little
even
bit.
More money, farming and construction.
What about you, Amy? The family-wise, you know, when you were going into it?
Family were very supportive. They were great. They were delighted for me, and obviously, as the only apprentice or the only female, I'd come home whinging the odd time about having to deal with the lads and whatever. But overall, they were great.
Do you feel you get judged to the same standards? Is the judgment on the standard of work regardless of who's doing it, or is there a difference in the sector on how it's judged on gender?
Well, when I went into my apprenticeship, I was a year in my apprenticeship when I got pregnant.
Okay.
And a year after that, when I was coming back from maternity leave, I announced I was pregnant a second time. So I think I made my situation quite difficult for myself. I wouldn't advise it, but I wouldn't change it either. I do think that the perception of people as a female was hard enough to deal with, but coming in, 6 months pregnant, I definitely found it very, very, very hard. And I do find it did take its toll on me. But I do think we all got educated throughout the experience. I mean, I'm tall like you, so PPE was an issue because I couldn't get female PPE, never mind female 36-inch leg PPE. So that was a major issue. From, as my bump grew, my trousers became smaller and my days at home became more frequent because I couldn't go to work if I couldn't get dressed.
I'm tall as well, just so you know.
Just
because I'm sitting down beside him, he looks tall.
But it's an amazing thing you say, Amy, because I remember it was, I'm going back to my industry, sport, but it was a real stumbling block with one of our local clubs. The girls didn't like the shorts, and as soon as they changed it, it leads to participation. It leads to more numbers getting out there. Yeah. And that is a real simple thing to fix, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when you talk about getting judged on your work, I don't find that I find the work is looked at from a safety point of view, obviously as an electrician, but I still don't think that a person's opinion of you is as a result of your work. I think people are forming that opinion before you lift a screwdriver, and you do have, like I said, a point to prove, especially when you're new into the industry. Who's the young one coming in here to the lads, and that's more in the older generation. The younger lads in the yard will be more accepting of it than the older lads. I've had lads, older men, try and kind of get out of the way, I'll do it, even though I would be more than capable.
Yeah. And you might get it done as efficiently, but if it's not the way they do it, it's just not seen as okay. You might have
set in their ways.
Yeah, you might have something to do and they do it a different way than you would, but it doesn't mean your way is wrong.
Or the result is different.
Yeah, you're always just bit down about it kind of in that regards.
Yeah. So did you find out when you came back from maternity leave, going back into the job again, good supports, or how did that work for you from relation from the job perspective?
I would say the company was supportive, but I would say my peers were a different story. I mean, the lads, as I was growing, obviously, I think they were anxious to even ask me if I was pregnant. So I felt like I had to have an announcement to let people know that, I'm not eating donuts when I go home. I'm actually, pregnant. And then when they did finally come to accept it and whatever, there was very few, even family men, like men whose women were in the maternity ward when I was pregnant, were disrespectful. You know what I mean? It was, and that's no reflection on the company. That was just the peers I worked with at the time. So it was quite difficult. But at the end of the day, the way that I used to see it was, I have a job to do and I'm going to blow it out of the park. People's opinions are irrelevant. And I did, and surpassed them. And that was my goal, was to surpass, to prove a point. Yeah. But you're like that and you don't even have kids. It's just a drive we naturally have from the environment. I suppose
that's a very good point, Kate. No, you don't have kids and take your time. I've got 2 or 3 girls. I've got 3 girls at home. So in relation to that, like as a woman with children at home and you're in the construction sector, still nothing to be afraid of, though, from a woman's perspective. Just go ahead and do it. And
absolutely.
Make it work.
I mean, I was picking up stock at 7 o'clock in the morning with my 2 kids in the car because I had nobody to mind them. I had to pick up stock so I could do the week's work, and I just put them into the back of the car and off we went. It became our little morning thing. Like, kids are so brilliant. Resilient. Everything is an adventure for them. And even now, the pictures I have of them wearing the hard hat in the van and all of these are pictures that I'll cherish because it was them coming to terms with what Mammy does, and they love what Mammy does. Now, I'd catch them the odd time with a drill and they'd be putting a nail in in the wall and I'd be like, get away. Okay. But I wouldn't give out to them because they're just exploring what they see, which is brilliant. And like that, even in the outside world, the outside world to see women is like children seeing women. They can adjust if society lets them as well. And I do think social media has helped. Like the LinkedIn, the Instagrams, all of these have really portrayed a number of women in different environments doing
Kate, you're on the opposite end of this. So I'll go back to your side in relation to 5 minutes up and down, or 5 minutes up the grain, 2 minutes down the grain. Friday evening, lads, they go into the pub with a pair of Snickers on them and they got a nice top on them and they look fine.
Yeah.
How do you handle the going into the bar on a Friday evening?
Well, I can't get a pair of Snicker pants to fit me, so...
Well, you're in the right place. Wow. Chadwicks will sort of you.
Yeah. Anything like a men's small doesn't fit me. So, I'm size 6 women, so that would be probably extra small women's, and then a small men's definitely won't fit me. Like, you know, so even I had a small men's jacket on me, high vis jacket on before I came here, and it was swimming. I couldn't get my hands out the end of the sleeves. So it's really hard in relation to workwear, actually. I just wear a pair of jeans and a top and just throw on a high vis vest over it hard. That's all you can do, like, you know.
That is wild that at this point that we haven't moved on well enough that you can just be actually in your work uniform feeling comfortable and right.
Yeah, like Amy will understand this now. Like the smallest size pants on most sites I look at are size 10 and they'd be swimming on me.
Yeah.
So I can't get size 6 or 8. So it's all men's sizes. Even the women's wear, the places that do women's wear, they don't have it small enough.
Right.
Yeah.
So they just range from certain sizes to certain sizes.
Chadwicks here now.
There we go. Here, we'll make sure you're sorted. Absolutely. We'll get it sorted in Chadwicks.
We look after that, yeah.
Amy, just on your point, how much of that is down to education? Of course, we need probably changes in maybe legislation so that everyone is aware. But like, if people are educated to know that this is the process, you know what I mean, that Amy is pregnant and she'll work up to this point, and how supportive we can be within that. But I just feel with a lack of it at the moment, with a lack of knowledge, it leads to probably those kind of awkward conversations and situations.
Yeah. All of it is education. All of it is education. And even the people who did have the opinions and whatever, a lot of them had them opinions out of fear. Like, you know, there was a very few lads that wanted to take a pregnant woman to site. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I'd be nervous if I was a fella as well. It wasn't in any form it wasn't a form of discrimination. It wasn't, you know, it was 100% a lack of education and a fear aspect. That's what and that goes every day with us on site. I mean, you don't have to be pregnant to have men who are, you know, uncomfortable in that environment with women, and it's only because they're not used to it, you know, and they can be quite intimidated by a woman as well.
And I think as well, if you're young, like, I don't know, sometimes the looks I'm getting, is it because I'm 19 years of age or is it because I'm a woman? It's very hard to tell whether they're saying she's very young to be operating a crane, or I can't believe a woman is operating a crane. Like, which one is it? You know?
Yeah, and I'd say probably Amy's right. I'd say that's got to do with a generation. I know, like, younger generation, she drives a crane. That's probably, it's great. Like, you know, the older generation, in some cases, you're spot on. Yeah. There's a discrimination piece. There's also a concern piece. You can see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I know a big thing in sport is always trying to have kind of mentors, someone that's been there before you and that's walked the path. But probably in your situations, you're first to the market. You're actually setting the blaze for everyone else to follow. How aware of that are you?
Well, I was very lucky. I had a very, very strong supportive males on site with me. Like, there was no women, so I had no woman to turn to. But the men in particular were very supportive. The site foreman, Tom, like, my dad was on site from time to time. And then the crane driver that trained me, Paddy Broderick, he was so supportive of me. And he was, from the minute I started, he was pushing me. Even when I was saying, no, I don't know. He was like, you can do it, you're fine. Like, and there is men out there that are so supportive on the flip side, but then there is them few that will just ruin it.
Yeah. Same for you, Amy?
Yeah, same for me. Especially the company that I'm with now. I mean, my daughter was diagnosed with diabetes only a few months ago, so I'm dealing with that. So I haven't been as present as I would like to be. But I mean, they respect that I have to do what I have to do, and family comes first. And I don't need to tell them that. Yeah. And that means so much. But they've still allowed me to achieve all my goals. They've even seen qualities in me that I didn't necessarily believe I was good at myself. And to have somebody who wants you to do well is amazing. You don't have to be defensive all the time, making sure you're making the right decision, because you can just relax and go with the flow because you know you have a good group around you.
I have to ask Kate now, give us one of your stories where you crashed into something on the crane. Come on.
Well,
you had to hit a wall, you were supposed to hit or something.
I've never had any of them situations.
Touch wood.
Exactly. I think really it's the only time that I'd be ever like a bit nervous or get a bit of a shakes is the wind, really. That's the only time. From time to time the wind would be a bit of a problem. But there's been a few times now where I remember one particular morning in Dublin, it was still dark and the scaffolding was in line with the crane. The crane was maybe a foot out, stepped out from the scaffolding, and the wind was blowing the crane in behind the scaffolding that you couldn't see it. And this was before my climb up, and it was lashing from the heavens. And I just said, I don't want to go up, but just had to, I suppose.
Amy, you say for yourself, any good stories you've had? You didn't lecture it yourself. You might lecture somebody else.
Yeah, no, we used to get the mega all right, and if someone was late, if they were out having a few drinks at the apprenticeship, we'd give them an old dart and wake them up in the morning.
Brilliant, that's a way to get you into it. How important is it that your teammates, your male colleagues, are supportive? I remember chatting to a few of my teammates in the women's game, and they were like, we'll bring the fight. We don't need you for that.
Mm-hmm.
But what we need you to do is be supportive and help us, champion what we're doing and realise that we can rely on you to, you know what I mean? When we go with these issues, that you've got our backs.
I don't think when you're getting the stares and stuff, and like when men are making it quite obvious, like that, oh, they're staring or whatever, I don't think they realise what that does to a person.
No.
I don't know, like there is days where I'd be going into site and I'd be just so self-conscious. There's just those bad days in every job, I suppose, but in particularly when you're walking into a site and it's all men, you don't want to be stared at. You don't want to be, like, I'd be looking down on the roof when there's lads working from the crane and you could see them looking up or laughing and stuff, and you'd be like, you get insecure.
Okay.
And they could be looking up and laughing about something about the crane, but they're still looking up at you and you're still insecure because you've experienced it before.
Yeah.
So you're constantly thinking that in your head. You're constantly, and especially when you're walking out, like I'd say, how are you to everyone? I'm really chatty, but some people just don't want to talk to you. They just walk by you. They might say, hi, morning.
I think that's intimidation, though. I don't think that is them being ignorant. That's what I've learned anyway. I do find a lot of them just don't know what to say to you.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, you're a girl. What do I say to a girl? You swear they never saw one, first of all.
Yeah.
But still, then you're this figure that's in a crane or that's, a pink tool belt, I'll have around your waist, ready to get working. And it's kind of like, all right, I'll step back.
Yeah.
She doesn't need me. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think it's badness a lot of the time.
Coming from yourself, you can be paranoid as well.
Yeah.
I think that that was something I just had to get over. I struggled for a while with it, like just thinking like, why are they looking at me? Why are they staring at me? What are they saying about me? But at the end of the day, like if a male went up, like I might not have as much experience as a lot of crane drivers out there, but at the same time, like I'm ready to learn, I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to get the experience. So I might not do the job as good as them or as quick as them or whatever, but I'll still get the job done and I'll try my best and I'll stay learning and stay gaining experience and stuff. So I just had to learn when they're laughing at me, like I'm still doing my job, I'm still doing what I'm here to do. So just get over it and just get on with your job, like, and stop being paranoid.
There's no doubting you do it better than all the rest of them. But I think it's important, that self-confidence within yourself, being able to look there and kind of go, what about it? I know my value and I don't need you.
When I play football, sometimes you look at the sideline and you think you made a mistake that probably nobody else saw, but in your head you're conscious of it, and someone just happens to laugh. You're like, they're laughing at me, I've made an idiot, the whole place can see what I'm doing. And I think because we know where we feel like we don't belong on the site, we automatically go straight to the negative thoughts as well, which realistically they could be like, God, she's great, she's after making so-and-so look shy. Do you know what I mean? And they're laughing at that. And in your head, you're like, oh.
And that was the point I was just about to make, because I think we all get, like I used to sit in an Irish dressing room and honestly, I would think, today's the day I'm going to be found out. Today's the day I go out and everyone realises that I'm actually not that good at this game. Whereas I was getting picked week in, week out. Someone did rate me, or you know what I mean? And it was my own insecurities.
You just didn't rate yourself.
Yeah, and it's probably having that bit of self-confidence that I know I'm good at this.
Yeah, I think that is probably the main thing, that like women and males have the self-confidence.
We need to just own it.
Yeah, and for men to like, encouragement, it costs nothing. It costs absolutely nothing, and you don't realize how much that can make. Like if I was going out in the morning and someone said, how are you, Kate? Good morning, I'd be walking with a bigger step and a bit of a bounce in my step. It makes it so much better than walking in with my head down, waiting not to give anyone a look, because I didn't get, when I said goodbye to someone yesterday, they never said it back to me. I think we'll do it both ways. If we be like, well, Donncha, how are you? Well, Kate, how are you? They can be more inclined to answer than to be the first one to say it. Yeah. So I think we all need to get better at it, including us. Yeah. We probably do need to be a little bit, we're kind of like waiting, knowing they won't say hello, and then giving out that they didn't say hello. There could be a bit of that too.
We had a brilliant coach, Rob Penny, came into Munster, and he was there. I'm really surprised that none of you greet each other in the morning. so he kind of brought in a culture for a while that we'd actually all go over and just say, how's it going? How are you getting on? And it was a small little thing, but you would just realise if he didn't do that, I might not chat to some people in my squad for the whole day. And in the end, you don't build up those relationships and bonds.
Yeah, I think you forget, like, the person coming against you might be in the same situation. They might be that little bit insecure as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like that, it does.
We'll all be insecure together.
Yeah.
You're not that insecure, are you, Tony?
Yeah, a little bit.
He's after changing outfits. He was insecure in the first one.
That's true, every 2 minutes.
And you go back to the short story, but you don't want to hear about your short story.
No, not again.
Yeah, no.
So, but Amy, you spoke about it, being a mother in the industry as well, you know, like, and Kate, you probably think of it in time, you know, you might want to start a family. How supportive is the industry around that? Or is it still, like you found it, a bit taboo?
I mean, it's supportive. It's definitely learning, and I wouldn't discourage anybody from it. I do think it has a way to go, but I think if you're a nurse and you're expecting, you're dealing with issues too. I mean, I don't think any environment is easy to go in and be pregnant. You have to deal with the work, and if they're sick, you have to try ring work to go home, and there's a number of different things to it. And that's mums or dads, any job at all. So I think it's how you deal with it and the confidence you have that if you are going to go down that route, that you're aware of how you're going to handle it. And that's all it is.
Yeah.
Do you know, the hardest part of it is labour.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Once you get over that, you'll be grand.
Obviously, there is the kind of rite of passage when you're an apprentice. Just tell us about that crack, banter, fun, that is a very enjoyable part of it all, and you want to be involved in all that, and it's no different for any of us.
It was the best time of my life anyway. I was the only girl. I had about 15 lads, and we had a ball. We actually did phase 2 in Galway.
No way.
And we had the time of our lives. We used to come into, if we were in Carlow and we'd let on someone was 21 and throw a birthday party. We should know him was 21, like we just wanted around.
We used to do that to get a free dessert.
Yeah, we do that in Portlaoise as well at the training school. We had an absolute ball, but you were so carefree at that stage. I mean, my God. And then you'd go off and you'd do your practical stint and you'd be like, how much longer before the session can start again, and you'd be back again. It was brilliant. A lot of learning. A lot of experiences.
We asked
for
to go and get the bucket of steam or the skirting ladder. Was
no, I wasn't. No.
Glass hammer.
Glass hammer, yeah.
Okay, you look like you've heard these once or twice before.
I've had them since I was about 4 years old from my father, and fell for them nearly every time.
But it's the most enjoyable part of the job, isn't it? Like I used to labour for my brothers, but I remember seeing people going in office suits, and you're nearly laughing at them. You're there.
Yeah.
You're so missing out on the crack we're going to have today.
Yeah.
It must be an enjoyable part of your jobs.
Well, I didn't get the typical apprenticeship kind of crack or whatever. I just trained in the crane. There wasn't a group, there wasn't a course. So then I suppose it was just the most crack I had was on site. Like I'm working in Galway at the minute, but I did work in Dublin, and I'm up today in Dublin, and I went for breakfast where I usually would go, and I went onto the site that I was working on, and just everyone was like, oh, is it a ghost we're seeing? Like everyone was so chatty and so friendly, and I just was like, geez, I really miss this. Like you do, like that's something I don't really have on the Galway site. I suppose the bigger site in Dublin, it was just everyone was so friendly and chatty, and they were like, oh, long time no see. Everyone wanted to chat. I was full 2 hours stuck over there talking to them, but it's something you really would miss. Like that's probably, in my opinion, the best part of the job. Absolutely, like definitely the best part of the job.
1 o'clock lunch break.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, the crack.
Yeah.
It's just mighty. Like it's brilliant. That's what I miss as well, especially now that I'm working from home or working in the office. So I'm not site based anymore, and I miss the crack.
Yeah,
do you know, the checking in, the laughs.
Yeah,
it all. It was brilliant.
Amy, you both mentioned the practicality of your work clothes, but is there anything else that stands out for you that is a little barrier towards the industry from a female point of view that makes it that little bit harder?
I think sometimes maybe the physical aspect, like not so much in my job. I don't do anything physical. The crane does all the work for me.
Well, I was going in with a ladder on my back, a tool bag here, a belt here. I mean, and a pair of yellow overalls that try to go to the toilet in them now. I'm not kidding you, that was a pain. Yeah. But I looked good in them. I thought I did anyway. Till they started calling me Big Bird. You know, Big Bird, Sesame Street. It's like, oh, here comes Big Bird. I was like, right, dungarees are gone.
Yeah. Maybe we used to say, look good, play good.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
try to look the part.
Yeah, once you look the part, you can convince yourself you're good. Yeah, but the physical aspect of it was tough. Like there was a lot of carrying, and there was times that I drill to put a backboard on an old wall, and the wall would start to crumble and it would just fall to bits, and I'd have the drill in my hand and I'd have to ring one of the lads going, do I continue drilling? Do I stop? Come up and help me, or the whole wall's going to fall down.
Yeah.
So if you want to have a bit of support, it's great crack.
Yeah.
Kate, did you find it that one of the biggest barriers, or is there anything else?
Not really, I suppose. I just say, to be honest, I have one of the easiest jobs on site. I just sit there, so it's fine.
You look pretty.
Yeah.
You go. Yeah.
No, I think just like that, if you have any sort of a support system at all where you can ring someone and say, look, I don't know what to do here, or I need a bit of help, need a hand, give me a hand. And if people are willing to help, then Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, I think the toilets are a massive issue and the PPE is a massive issue. They're the only two issues I can really say are a pain.
Okay, well, tell us more. Like how can that improve? You know what I mean? If you don't mind, just expand a little bit.
Well, like even from my point of view, like I was going to do installs, and the nearest toilet could be 40 minutes away, one way, which is 80 minutes. Which means my productivity, if you're getting bonuses based on your productivity, was always down compared to the lads. But it wouldn't be wrote on the screen that's being displayed for the whole team that Amy's the bottom of the list, and why it was just Amy's the bottom of the list. So little things like that, if it was even just explained, other whatever, an excuse put beside it without actually saying she was gone to the toilet 4 times. Do you know what I mean? But I think to improve it, I don't know. COVID was very difficult because everywhere was closed. I think the PPE, like you said, if you can dress it, you can feel it. I think women need to feel that. They need that connection with themselves for that for the security and confidence to come up. I mean, to get up in the morning and put on your Snickers and your T-shirt and match it with your pink laces or whatever. I mean, you'd just be gorgeous going out the door, ready for a crane, where no one's going to see you, but you look good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
We'll have to mention we've mentioned Snickers twice, and we've got a mascot on Power West. One of them will have to do something, so we'll come back to you on that.
A mascot. Mascot's very good as well, actually. Yeah.
I've been very lucky with toilet wise, because obviously I work on site. Well, bar from when I'm in the crane and I have to come down. But in any site I've worked on, they've always had a female toilet, and they've always kept it clean, and they've always, and I was the only one using it, so it was kind of a waste, really. But they were always very conscious of that and made a big effort.
There was yards that I worked in that didn't have female toilets down the yard. I had to go up to the offices to use the toilet. There was no female toilets down the yard.
And God forbid you'd go into the male's toilet. The looks you'd get. Oh,
even going to the office.
Yeah.
You were like, the office was for office staff, and you're an apprentice and you weren't supposed to be in the office.
Yeah.
So you'd be like, what are you doing here? So yeah, from that point of view, the toilets need to be more spread out and available.
In an overall question, what advice would you give to someone now in kind of 4th year, like yourselves, very, very interested, like they're looking to you to mentors? What would you say to, your younger selves?
I would say that there's options besides college. Like, I know that there is an increase in female engineers and stuff like that, but there isn't really in female apprenticeships and stuff. Like, I just don't think it's being put to them. So just if you're not given the information, do your own research. Get the information yourself, I suppose. I think that's probably the best thing to do.
I would say go for it, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, you'll have the best fun, the best experiences, and the lows that you'll have will never, ever compare to the highs that you'll get. Like, the highs are off the scale, and the friends you'll make will be for a lifetime. And even the pride you'll have in yourself, the pride that you carry for the job that you do, to just be, to own it and to be proud of where you are. And if you need to contact anybody, there's loads of women out there that
and willing to help.
We're willing to help.
Yeah.
Like, we're open to a question. This is what I'm thinking. My family, whatever, my friends, whatever. What do you think? I mean, we'll help and answer any concerns that you have.
And just a piece that you mentioned again is sort of travel piece. Have you travelled before? I presume the jobs you have are transferable across the rest of the world.
Oh yeah, my cert, I could go, like, I know loads of lads now that have left and they've gone to Australia, they've gone to Canada, some of them are in the UK. Like, it literally, a craft cert is worldwide. Like, it opens the door for anything.
For me, I would probably have to do, in certain countries, do the test again for crane driving, probably. I know you could still do it. You know, you've the experience got, so it's not as if you're going to fail. Well, you shouldn't anyway. But
hope not.
Yeah. But no, I think as well. Definitely, it is open to travel. You can travel with anything in construction, really.
Yeah.
You know, it's not really restricted.
And I would travel. Like, I would travel. I'd go and I'd experience. Like, once you've got it, that's the hardest part over. The world just opens up then. The friends you can make, the cultures you can see, everything. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And the money, like in today's economy, you know what I mean? Like, from a positive point of view, the craft certs and the trades are holding. You know, there's always going to be work.
Yeah.
As well, if you're worried about that, it's there.
Can I ask a nosy question before we wrap up? An awful lot of your circle of friends are probably male. Is that right? Like, how intimidating is that for maybe, you know what I mean? Like, maybe their girlfriends or partners that they're heading out with you for the crack and the fun. You know?
Yeah, I think as well, a lot of my girlfriends, will say, are school friends.
Yeah.
So they're all in college. They can go out on a Wednesday night and Bob's your uncle, they miss the lecture the following morning. It's great. I have to be in work for 6, so I'm not going to be able to tag along with them, or else.
Don't think they'll appreciate that comment. Okay, we all go to next day. She's not talking about me, man. I'm always there.
Or else I'm just the designated driver. But I think some people say as well, they might fear they go to college for the college experience. Like, you can still get the experience. Like, while you're young, like, do it anyway.
Like, you're sitting in a crane getting paid to have a live Tinder episode in front of you. You're like, yeah, swipe right on him, swipe left on him.
Look, before we wrap up, look, I think one thing you could certainly pick up sitting on this side was the two of you absolutely loves the sector you're both in. You're very passionate about what you do. And it comes across very, very well. I mean, I am a parent, but if parents listening really should get a sense of, like, look, these two girls are absolutely phenomenal at what they do, and there's such a passion in it, and I don't know, it's excellent to hear. Like, and it's not that it's surprising, but it's fantastic for me being involved in the sector. We're trying all the time to drive more females into the construction sector, and hopefully people get to listen to this and it makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what would the message to little girls? I can hear my own little Sophie Anna's Robin. If they're listening to you know, what message would you have for them? I
think the best message is, like, don't let yourself be your biggest enemy.
Yeah.
Like, don't put the idea in your head that you're going into a male dominated industry and you can't do it. You know, just if you like it, go and do it. Stop looking at, like, oh, they looking at me. It is hard. Like, it's easier for me now that I'm over that stage to say, don't let it bother you. It's fine. Get over it. It will bother you.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it is. It is hard. But just try your best to get through it, and you will get through it. And once that part's over, then once you've built your self-confidence, I think men, correct me if I'm wrong here, they've slightly bigger egos.
Yeah, 100%.
So
I think Pat here.
I think when a male goes in to do the same job a woman would, their shoulders back, their head up, they're the best. And even among men themselves, from man to man, he's the best. Nothing's gonna, like, take that idea out of his head. Whereas a woman is like, always doubting herself a little bit.
But she doesn't have the same peers to be kind of like, come on, you got this. Move along. Do you know, there's nobody there. She is her own support system and everything on site. That's it. But I do think for little girls, and I'm thinking of my own little one at home, like, and I just think it's all about just belief in yourself and pride in what you can be and who you are. And just that willingness to be different. You know, like, not every girl has to be a hairdresser or a makeup artist. You can be the person on site driving the crane with the eyeshadow. You can be both.
I think that thing as well is, they think if a woman in construction, she's not feminine. Like, I was a complete tomboy growing up. I was rolling around the shit in the yard. And I still loved going home, showering, putting on my makeup. You know, I still love doing it.
Getting the nails done, the whole. You can be both, and that's what girls need to remember. And always support each other. Like, don't. If a girl is feeling crap, just say you got this. Like, it doesn't have to be a big conversation. The women and even the men, just be kind. I think is a big thing too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But 100% go for it.
Brilliant. Amy and Kate, that's a fantastic way to leave it. Thank you so much for joining us today on Under Construction. But more importantly, thank you for setting the standard for the next generation to come. To have role models like the two of you out in the industry is absolutely incredible, and you should be so proud of yourselves. Thanks so much.
Well done.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having
Thanks
us.
a million. So every week in the podcast, we're going to take the opportunity to shine a light on one of our many suppliers. And this week, we're lucky enough to have David here from Tech 7. I don't think we're lucky enough to be joined by David now from Tech 7 or Contact Tech 7, David, whatever way you want to say it. But you might tell us a bit about your products.
Yeah, so I suppose everyone's kind of familiar with the brand Tech 7 in the market. So the main product being the universal sealant and adhesive. It bonds to almost all building materials and can be used underwater. And yeah, it's probably at this point, thankfully, the market leader in the segment.
And can you tell us a bit more then about Tech 7 in relation to Chadwicks, and is it available in Chadwicks?
Yeah, so this is the 20th anniversary, actually, the introduction of Tech 7 into the Irish market. So we have a bit of a promotional campaign going on around that at the moment. And I think Chadwicks were one of the first adopters of the product back 20 years ago as well. It can be found in all Chadwicks stores nationwide at this stage, and gone much beyond the single product that started off the whole thing. And we now have a full range of all manner of building chemical products.
You'd be used to doing a bit of silicone seal and stuff around the house, would you?
Yeah, mainly on my face. No, I know it shouldn't be used for that. I just want to clear it up. But Dave, the business industry, everything's changed in 20 years, and we're all chatting about sustainability. Can you tell us about Tech 7 and how sustainable it is?
Yeah, so I mean, in the first instance, Tech 7, the product itself, when it first came on the market, I suppose, was kind of ahead of its time, because it was a much more ecologically friendly and sustainable alternative to a lot of the harsher silicon-based products that were used as sealants at the time, and PU adhesive, acrylic adhesives that would have been popular in the adhesive segment at the time. So Tech 7 came on as a kind of catch-all universal product to replace those products in those applications, but it had a lot of ecologically friendly credentials at the time. So it was solvent-free, it still is solvent-free, free of harmful phthalates, isocyanates, etc., and kind of has a plethora of environmental credentials and certifications that come with that. And yeah, the big thing being, like, all of these products were very solvent heavy. They would have had a lot of filler and heavy plasticizers that contained sort of toxic chemicals in some cases, or harmful chemicals. And Tech 7 kind of came along and brought to the market a cleaner product at the time. And obviously today, that's very high on everyone's agenda.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've recently brought out a new cartridge.
Yeah, so I mean, everyone would associate Tech 7 with the traditional plastic cartridge. This is probably the biggest challenge for our segment, as we see almost all sealants and adhesives in the market are sold in high-density polyethylene plastic cartridges. And I mean, when we sat down to look at this and start to look at what we could do to contribute to more sustainable practices, we're a bit shocked actually by the statistics that we found. The data from the UK was showing us that up to 2 million plastic cartridges per week were entering landfill in the UK. Oh. So immediately we were very taken aback by the sheer quantity. And polyethylene doesn't break down, unfortunately. It's kind of it's a necessary. It's necessary because we need a material that will remain stable with the product. But polyethylene doesn't naturally break down. And although polyethylene can hypothetically be recycled as a plastic, in practice it's not. And once the plastic is contaminated with product, it's not energy efficient to go through the cleaning process and recycle it. So we were faced with this dilemma that universally across the segment we had cartridges as the primary vessel for our product, and how could we what could we do to reduce our impact or to make a more sustainable version of the product? So we kind of looked at loads of different options there. The main one being, and others have kind of brought this to market, partially recycled cartridges. So cartridges that are made up of partially recycled material. And we went down that avenue and we were pursuing it, but ultimately we kept coming back to that 2 million cartridges statistic. And those partially recycled cartridges were still ending up in landfill at the end. So our solution was to look to existing foil sausage technology to try to replace the cartridge with an alternative container that left less waste footprint when it was finished. Wow. So we've brought to the market now the Tech 7 ecosystem, which is a system which allows you to use Tech 7 in a plastic foil pack instead of the plastic container, or sorry, in a foil pack instead of the plastic container. And it's a very, very simple, ergonomic, compact system. There's a gun, a durable gun, a foil sausage pack, and a reusable nozzle and adapter. And the whole system then comes together. And what you get at the end from a foil pack versus a cartridge is 3% of the waste footprint. So it's 97% less waste footprint from a finished product.
And how many products in the range?
So in the Tech 7 range now has a more than I can count at the moment. So we're up to, I think, 20 odd products.
Wow.
We have products we have a full cleaning range of products. We have a full range of waterproofing products, which basically waterproofing solutions for the full external envelope of the house from roof to basement. And we recently introduced the full range into the Chadwicks branches. So all available there. And we've a lot of other products that kind of fill in different sectors. So we have lubricants, multi-spray oils, and we're soon to bring out a chemical anchor as well. So that's a bit of an exclusive for the Chadwicks podcast.
That's very
We're doing
important.
it all now.
Very important. Chemical
We're always after an exclusive.
chemical anchor is very important to our sector, so you wouldn't know, so that's it, yeah. So then other products as well, there's a bit in the plumbing sector as well, you have a few products.
Yeah, so Plum 7 actually was one of the first of the range expansion products way back in the day, but Plum 7 is kind of again one of those products that really transcends between the professional and the DIY sector. So it's a universal sealant for heating systems. So if you have any sort of leaks anywhere in your heating system, you pour Plum into the system, it will find the holes and plug them, and it has a really, really impressive demonstration. If you ever see this, you'll find one on our
You would have
Instagram
seen
page.
You had to brought the sample in, but
Yeah, well,
That's incredible. That's incredible, like, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, it's a very, very useful product. And I mean, as I say, you can take your own hand to it if you want. Yeah. It's very simple to administer, but if you want to rely on the professionals as well.
At home
there you go. Jenny's birthday is coming up. I might spoil her.
I'd say she's at home saying, please do not give him a sample to bring that home. There's nothing wrong with the radiators. Everything is fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and then advancement then in relation to the technology piece. I know the sustainability piece is important, but the technology within the range.
Tech 7 is a Belgian company. Novatech Belgium is the producer of Tech 7. And I have to say, the first time I went over to Novatech, my mind was absolutely blown. I mean, you're used to seeing Tech 7 in merchant settings, in your Chadwicks, on building sites. It's not something, I suppose, you don't really associate it with technology. And then when I landed there, it was like you're after arriving at some sort of advanced pharmaceutical lab. Like on site, they have their own full kitted out research and development center. Wow. You walk in and the lab is lined with various iterations of product. They've full plethora of testing machines, testing the elasticity, testing the tensile strength of the product. It's just a constant process of research and development. And, there's all sorts of projects going on behind the scenes. I suppose at the time, hybrid MS polymers revolutionized the building chemical segment. And what's going to be the next thing, I suppose, is the way to go. You can't rest on your laurels. I mean, we're looking back, and we this is a constant mantra in the office. We're looking back on 20 years and you're doing really well in the market, and you have a nice position. But like, if you sit there, you're not going to stay there. And that's really driving philosophy in the head office at Tech 7 in Belgium. Like, research and development and investment in research and development is the whole operation, really.
Does that ever bounce the other way round? Do you ever hear it from the shop floor, from the people using the products? Are they coming to you with problems saying, Reem, we've this, we know your product's brilliant at it, but if there was a slight adaptation of it, it could be great and help me out more?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 12 reps on the ground in Ireland, and we are constantly receiving feedback from the people who are hands-on with the product. We work a little bit with Peter Finn, who'd probably be familiar with your listeners. So I'm always passing product on to Peter as much as I can to try and get the feedback. It can be something small about an application, or how something is used, or an application that you didn't think of. Or it can be a case of a new colour, or, tastes change. When Tech 7 came on the market, there were 4 colours. Now we have a myriad of different colours to reflect the change in tastes and the use cases that you have.
So do you want to tell us about the competition we're running?
Yeah, so as we mentioned earlier on, we're celebrating our 20th anniversary at the moment in the Irish market. So to mark the occasion, we've got a run of limited edition Tech 7 dartboards made up from Winmore over in Bridgend in Wales. So if you call into your local Chadwicks, you will see our full dartboard display, including the Eco sausage system in the Chadwicks. And all you need to do is no purchase necessary. Scan the QR code on the stand and enter your details very, very quickly, and you'll be in with a chance to win a very limited edition and exclusive Tech 7 dartboard, cabinet and dart set.
Oh, deadly.
I wasn't aware of the no purchase thing. Yeah. Might have to go back.
So good. So good.
David, thanks very much. And thanks very much.
Thank you very much, lads. It was a pleasure being on.
Fair play. The Under Construction podcast is produced by the Podcast Studios for Chadwicks, Ireland's leading building merchandise company, where you can choose from the best products and expert advice to get the job done. Drop into any of the local Chadwicks stores nationwide or visit online at chadwicks.ie